Monkeys, marijuana. Who doesn't love those two things? Let's paint a mural about it.
Most of my murals start with a sketch. I take a picture of the wall and I remove the wall, keeping the surrounding environment in the context of the photo, and just sketch right onto it, starting with some just kind of sloppy compositions, thumbnails, if you will, just really loose sketches. And then once I get a solid composition like this one here with this chimp, I start flushing out details and really finessing the composition to get everything in a good spot and not competing with existing things like that window. I just had an arm pass through that window, so there's continuity to kind of complete the shape. And yeah, just kind of flushing out the colors. Once I got the go-ahead from the client, I sent them the sketch, and they were like, yeah, we like it. So I flushed out the colors so they could kind of see what it looked like fully rendered. And that's pretty much where it's at right now. I thought the chalk on the stick was a good idea, but it wasn't. It didn't really work out. The chalk kept breaking, but anyway, this is the doodle grid. This is how I'm going to transfer the sketch onto the wall. It's classic. I use it 90% of the time on murals. Well, it's day 2. I didn't bring my SD cards for the GoPro yesterday. Didn't get really any time lapse, so we've made some progress. Let me show you. Got the background, still got details and texture to that, but got the sketch on. Pretty happy with that first pass there. So yeah, we're filling shapes. I'll try and make it up to you by getting more footage today. I'm gonna do some first person. I'm gonna attach the GoPro to my hand. Let's see how it works. Thanks for watching. I hoped you liked that little bit of ASMR for you, some paint ASMR, paint ASMR. Anyway, we are continuing on with the painting, starting from the back and working our way forward. Rather, I'm just filling shapes at this point. I'm just kind of getting the mid-tone and the base layer down in each of these larger shapes. If you remember from the sketch, the chimp's skin is kind of like an orangish color. The fur is green, and the background is a mix of green and purple. Basically, kind of like hemp plants in the background, which is what these textured lines are. Just kind of abstracted. It's not super detailed. It's supposed to be in the background, like a kind of a bokeh effect, blurred. And then after I fill all the shapes, I come back and do a second tone, kind of like a down value. So this is kind of like a shadow, but it's more like just a lower mid-tone. Started with a mid-tone, my base, and then this is like a -1, if you will, in value. And this kind of just sculpts the shapes that I have and makes them a little more 3D without getting too detailed, just kind of blocking out the shapes, the parts of the shape, the structure that is not receiving as much light, but it still is maybe getting some ambient lighting to where you can see the form, and it's not quite a shadow like you see underneath the brow of the eye there, that dark green color, which I sketched with. So anyway, I don't know if any of that makes sense or if you even really care, but I'm just kind of explaining it as I go. Keep it loose. I don't usually get to use brushes because I spray paint my exterior murals if it's any sort of texture whatsoever. But I've been trying to do brush latex paint more often so that I don't have to just sit and wear a respirator all day. I kind of hate that, a lack of oxygen. So this one I wanted to do, and plus a lot of interiors, you can't get all those fumes everywhere. You have to protect the space a lot more. Whereas brush, you're not kicking up all that dust from the spray. Anyway, there's not a lot overspray dust. So yeah, I like the latex. It's a little less toxic than that spray paint too. I don't have to worry about it getting in my skin, on my face, and my eyes. I still get it on my skin, and I'm sure that latex is not great. I'm absorbing that into my pores, but it's better than spray paint, that's for sure. And I'm just trying to get faster at painting with latex, because that's absolutely the benefit of spray paint, is it's so much faster than painting with brush. But I'm working on it. I'm trying to get better, trying to keep it loose, trying to develop my style with the brush and the roller, and try and just make it to where I can emulate my typical drawing style and get close to what my spray paint murals look like, but with this medium. They're always going to be a little different just because of the nature of applying the paint you see here and using just big swaths of shapes, whereas when I use the spray paint, it kind of has like a, I don't know, you can kind of achieve the same kind of effects with brush by doing kind of dry brushing technique, or even watering down your paints. It'll kind of give you the same kind of transition. You can also mix wet on wet on canvas. There's a word for that. What is it called? Wet on wet. Leave it in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. It's a technique where you're just putting a bunch of paint on the wall, and then you're mixing a gradient directly onto the wall. So you're coming in with a lighter color or a darker color to shift that gradient, that value. I don't do a ton of that, maybe a little bit. I do probably more dry brushing, to be honest with you, than I do the wet on wet application, which is interesting because I don't love brush stroke a ton. I don't love that dry brush look unless you do it right. So I guess I do it right for my standards because that's what I do, and I'm just trying to do the best and make it look as good as possible. Anyway, this is not a super educational video. You can see I'm just layering it up. I started with the mid-tone, dropped a lower tone. I kind of came back in and refined the sketch after that lower tone. And then after I get the sketch a little bit more refined, then I'll come in with the highlights and really kind of make it pop and get more dynamic. Each highlight that you add really makes that shape a little bit more 3D, especially once you get in the very end and you start doing the white, the very white, pure white highlights. That really makes it pop. But yeah, just layering it up here on these leaves. Plants are hard. Leaves are kind of hard because they're really intricate shapes with all these delicate details, but they move through space and have a lot of foreshortening going on, which is kind of hard to imagine. Like, it's one thing to use photo reference and try and paint something that you're looking at, because you can kind of just reduce it down to the basic shapes. But man, when you're just trying to like invent a composition or draft something based on your knowledge of what they look like, it's somewhat difficult. And I'm not the best, but I'm learning. So that's what it's all about. Every job, every mural I paint, I feel like I learn something, whether it's a texture or it's an anatomy of an animal, or just what something is constructed of, and general shapes of things that I maybe never looked at before. But for whatever the client's business is about, you usually gotta find a creative solution of illustrating that thing. And so yeah, it's interesting to be able to learn on the job and to discover things. I've never drawn a face in the embers of a joint before, so that was kind of a problem I had to solve, and looking at the burning tip of a joint and seeing how I could put the shapes of a face in there. Where's the mouth going to go, where the eye is going to be, while it still looks like a joint but also looks like a face. So anyway, that's about it. Here are the final flicks, the final deets. What do you think? Let me know. Is this a cool mural? This is in Prohibition Cannabis on 55th and Troost in Kansas City, Missouri. I think they will probably be open by the time this video comes out, so make sure you stop in, get some good buds, get some treats. They are smaller farmers, so it's a really good quality product, not just like mass-produced like some of these other dispensaries out there you'll find that don't have really awesome product. I have sampled Prohibition's product, and I did so while painting this mural, so I can verify that it is effective and it is nice. So
Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.